My name is Sarah, and at 35, after 5 grueling years of late-night writing sessions, stolen lunch break revisions, and juggling a full-time finance job with raising 2 kids, I launched finally my memoir, Balancing Acts, Family Finance, and the Fight for Sanity. But standing in that crowded New York City bookstore, clutching my book amid strangers' applause, all I saw were 5 empty reserve seats for the family who chose my brother's barbecue instead. I should have felt proud reading excerpts on perseverance and hidden struggles, but the betrayal cut deep. My achievements mean everything to me, yet apparently nothing to them. The gut punch hitting when my phone buzzed with an urgent message from my husband. If you have ever felt robbed by those meant to support your dreams, let me know where you are watching from. Hit like and subscribe for more stories of turning family pain into strength. The event had started with such promise. I had arrived early, my heart pounding as I adjusted the microphone on the small stage, the bookstore owner introducing me with glowing words about how my book captured the raw truth of modern women's lives. As I read an excerpt, my voice steady, despite the nerves, I described the chaos of early mornings packing lunches, while mentally outlining chapters, the guilt of missing bedtime stories to meet deadlines. The audience nodded along, a few women in the crowd, wiping their eyes, connecting with the vulnerability I had laid bare. But as I scanned the room mid-sentence, hoping for a familiar face to ground me, those empty seats glared back a silent accusation that twisted my stomach into knots. Where were they, Michael had promised, squeezing my hand weeks ago, saying, "Of course we will be there." Babe front and center. Alex, our 12-year-old son with his messy hair and endless energy, had even joked about asking for my autograph. Mia, 10 and full of questions, had drawn a picture of me holding a big book, her crayoned version of Pride. And yet here I was, alone in a sea of supportive strangers. Flashbacks hit me as I signed the first copy, my pen scratching across the title page, with a dedication to a fan named Lisa, who said my story mirrored her own. 5 years ago, it all began in our modest 3-bedroom house in the Brooklyn suburbs, a place with a tiny backyard where the kids played on sunny weekends. I worked as a financial analyst at Empire Financial Services, crunching numbers for 50 hours a week, dealing with tight deadlines and picky clients. But year after year, I watched less qualified coworkers, mostly men, climb the ladder while I stayed stuck, my boss hinting that I needed something extra to stand out. A bachelor's degree was fine, but everyone had that. If I wanted senior management, I needed to prove my expertise in a big way. That is when the idea struck to write a book blending my personal struggles with practical advice on financial planning for families. It was not just for me, it was for us, for the stability that could mean better schools for the kids, maybe even that dream vacation to Disney World they begged for. The writing started small, scribbling ideas in a notebook after the kids went to bed, but it quickly consumed me. I would wake at dawn to brew coffee-packed lunches and kiss Michael goodbye before heading to the office. Evenings were a blur of work calls, then hunkering down at my desk until midnight, fingers flying over the keyboard while the house slept. Weekends, instead of lazy brunches, I locked myself away to edit chapters emerging only for quick hugs or to referee sibling squabbles. "Mom is always writing," I overheard Alex grumble to Michael one night, his voice carrying through the thin walls. "She never has time for us anymore." Those words pierced me, a mix of guilt and determination surging through my veins. I told myself it was temporary, that once the book was out, the royalties and recognition would make it all worth it. We could afford extras like dance lessons for Mia, or that new bike Alex wanted. But deep down, doubts crept in, wondering if I was losing them in the process. Michael was my rock at first, picking up slack with laundry and school runs, whispering encouragement when rejections piled up from agents. "You are brilliant," he would say, pulling me close. "This book is going to change everything." But as months turned to years, his patience frayed. "How much longer, Sarah?" he asked more often, his tone edged with frustration. "The kids miss you. I miss you." Just a few more revisions, I would promise, then one more query round. By the time the launch date approached, our marriage felt stretched thin, like an over-edited page ready to tear. I had missed so many little moments, school recitals, weekend outings, that their lives had adapted without me. Still, this event was my chance to show them it all meant something to see their mom as a role model, proving women could chase dreams at any age. Planning had been meticulous. 6 months out, I secured the bookstore venue requesting spots for Michael, the kids' parents, and my sister Jenna from Seattle. I called everyone, excitement bubbling as I shared the date. Mom and Dad noted it but sounded non-committal while Jenna cheered, promising to fly in. I researched post-launch spots, settling on an upscale Italian bistro nearby, dropping $200 on the deposit for our group. Using travel points, I booked a Marriott room for my parents. I even splurged on a sleek emerald dress that hugged my figure just right, scheduling hair and makeup for the morning to feel like the author I had become. Mia twirled when I tried it on at home, saying I looked like a movie star. Her innocent compliment brought tears to my eyes, a rare moment of connection amid the chaos. But cracks appeared 3 weeks before. My brother Chris called the golden child at 38, with his successful marketing firm and penthouse overlooking the Hudson. He dropped the bomb about his big barbecue on launch day, boasting about his new outdoor setup and inviting 50 people, including business contacts. "Chris, that's my book launch." I said, my voice tight. "You knew the date." He laughed it off. "Come on, Sarah, it's just a signing. You can swing by after. The kids would love the pool." Rage boiled inside me as he mentioned our parents were coming with extended family in tow. The argument escalated, him calling me dramatic, me hanging up, shaking. Calling Mom only worsened it, her suggesting we compromise as if rescheduling a major event was simple. That night, I vented to Michael expecting solidarity. He rubbed my back, saying my family had always been this way, but we would be there. "Promise me," I whispered. "Nothing will keep us away," he replied, kissing my forehead. I clung to those words, desperate to believe them. The day before final touches consumed me. I picked up author copies from the printer, their weight solid and real in my hands. Polishing my heels, charging my phone for photos, excitement mixed with anxiety. Dinner that evening, Michael seemed distracted, texting often. Mom called again, casually asking if the kids were excited for Chris' party. My blood ran cold. What no? "They are coming to my launch." She sounded surprised. Chris said Michael mentioned bringing them. It would be more fun than sitting through readings. Hands trembling, I faced Michael, who avoided my eyes. The kitchen silence shattered as I demanded answers. He admitted the kids begged after hearing about the games and cousins. "So you planned this without me," I accused, voice rising. "Be reasonable, Sarah. The event is hours of talking. They will be bored. And you think teaching them fun trumps support. This book is 5 years of me building our future. Do you not see that the fight intensified, kids, drawn downstairs, siding with Dad tearfully? I went to bed alone, tears soaking my pillow, mourning the disconnect that had grown. Waking, disoriented Michael's side, cold the house quiet. A note on the counter. Took the kids to Chris early to set up. We will try to make it. Congrats. Crumpling it. I forced myself through the routine salon visits, masking my puffy eyes. Back home dressing, I snapped a mirror selfie, captioning it about chasing dreams, posting with a heavy heart. Responses flooded from friends and colleagues, but silence from family. Driving to the bookstore, nerves jangled. I arrived to set up, posing with books, but the empty seats loomed as the event began. Reading my words, voice wavering slightly, I felt exposed, the applause hollow without them. Afterward, mingling, checking my phone obsessively, no messages until those 12 missed calls. Heart racing. I called back Michael's panicked voice, explaining Ryan's fall. "I am on my way," I said, breaking into a run, emotions clashing between maternal worry and lingering hurt. As I sped through the city streets toward Mercy Hospital, the skyline blurring past my window, my mind raced faster than the car, pulling me back to the roots of this nightmare, to the ambition that had set all this in motion. The drive felt endless, each red light a cruel pause forcing me to relive how my dream of writing that book had slowly unraveled the threads of my family life, turning what should have been our shared victory into this solitary heartbreak. It all started 13 years into my marriage to Michael, a 40-year-old project manager at a bustling Silicon Valley startup, relocated to our New York office, where he spent long hours coding solutions for tech giants. We'd settled into a comfortable 4-bedroom home in the quiet Westchester suburbs, complete with a fenced yard where the kids could chase fireflies on summer evenings. Alex, our 12-year-old son, was deep in that phase where everything his parents did embarrassed him. His room, a fortress of video games and half-finished homework. Mia, at 10, was blossoming into a social butterfly, her days filled with playground gossip and dreams of sleepovers with her best friends. I had been grinding away as a financial consultant at Hudson Wealth Advisors for nearly a decade, pulling 45-hour weeks analyzing portfolios and soothing high-strung clients through market dips. The job paid well enough to keep our suburban life afloat, but the glass ceiling loomed large. I watched male colleagues with half my experience leapfrog into senior roles, their bold pitches earning nods, while my detailed reports gathered dust. My boss would pat me on the back during reviews, saying my bachelor's in economics was solid. But in this competitive field, I needed something to set me apart, a unique voice or credential that screamed expertise. After the third promotion slipped through my fingers, handed to a flashy newcomer who echoed my ideas in meetings, as if they were his own frustration boiled over into resolve. That night, staring at the ceiling while Michael snored softly beside me, I decided to channel my experiences into a book, a raw memoir laced with financial tips for working parents titled Navigating the Storm Career Family and Self-Discovery. It would be my way of claiming the recognition I deserved, not just for me, but for us. The extra income from sales could pad college savings or finally make that family getaway to Universal Studios a reality. The writing began as a quiet rebellion, a few paragraphs jotted in a journal after tucking the kids into bed, their small bodies warm and trusting under the covers. But it quickly snowballed into an obsession. I enrolled in online writing courses, tailored for busy professionals, squeezing sessions into my evenings twice a week from 7 to 10. Mornings blurred into a routine of brewing coffee at 5:30, whipping up breakfast smoothies and packing school bags before dashing to the train for my commute. Workdays dragged with endless spreadsheets, but during lunch, I would huddle in a quiet cafe corner, revising chapters on my laptop fingers, flying as I wove stories of late-night budget crises and the guilt of missing a school play. Evenings at home grew strained. I would rush through dinner cleanup, then retreat to our home office, the glow of the screen, my only company while Michael handled baths and bedtime stories. Weekends, once filled with lazy park outings, became marathons of editing me locked away with noise-canceling headphones, emerging only for quick meals or to break up the kids' arguments. Michael was my cheerleader in the beginning, stepping up with the kids' schedules, driving Alex to baseball practice, and helping Mia with her spelling words. "You are incredible," he would say, massaging my shoulders after a long session. "This book is going to blow them away." But as the months stretched into years, his enthusiasm waned, replaced by sighs and pointed glances. "How much longer until it's done?" he asked one evening as I typed furiously past midnight. "The kids hardly see you, Sarah." "Just one more draft," I would murmur, guilt gnawing at me. Then a few more queries to agents. The rejections piled up like unpaid bills, each one a punch to my confidence, but I pressed on, rationalizing that the end goal would heal the rifts. Royalties could mean stability, perhaps even quitting my job to write full-time, freeing up evenings for family movie nights. The toll on the kids became harder to ignore. Alex, once my little shadow, grew distant, his teenage moodiness amplified by my absences. Mom is always on her computer. I overheard him tell Michael during a family dinner I had rushed through his voice laced with hurt that sliced through me like a sharp edit. It does sting, those words echoing in my head as I lay awake later, doubting if I was selfish for chasing this. Mia, ever the empathetic one, would slip drawings under my office door, stick figures of us all holding hands, a silent plea for attention. But I pushed the guilt down, telling myself it was for them, for the better life my words could buy. The book was not just a career move, it was a testament to perseverance, showing my children that dreams did not end with parenthood. Yet as drafts evolved into a polished manuscript, the distance widened. Michael developed his own routines, weekend hikes with the kids, or visits to his parents, leaving me behind with my deadlines. I missed birthdays turned into quick video calls, school events skipped for agent meetings. The resentment simmered, unspoken, but palpable, like an unresolved plot hole in my narrative. By the time I secured a small indie publisher, the strain was evident. The launch date loomed as a beacon, my chance to bridge the gap to have them see the fruits of those lost hours. I envisioned their proud faces in the crowd, understanding at last why I had fought so hard. But as the day approached, old family patterns resurfaced. My brother Tom, 39, and the family favorite with his flashy ad agency in a Manhattan loft and endless adventures as a bachelor always stole the spotlight. Our parents, now in their 60s and splitting time between New Jersey and Florida winters, had doted on him since childhood, attending his every milestone, while mine faded into afterthoughts. They funded his business startup but hesitated when I needed help with childcare for writing retreats. "Tom is just more exciting," Mom had said once, her words a casual dagger. "You are so focused on your responsibilities." The irony burned my diligence, held against me like a flaw. 6 months before the launch excitement built as I finalized details. The bookstore in Manhattan confirmed the space, and I requested seats for Michael, the kids' parents, and my sister Lisa from Boston. Calls went out. Lisa thrilled in booking her trained parents, murmuring they would try. I reserved a trendy fusion restaurant nearby for celebration, shelling out $300 on the deposit, and used points for a suite at the Westin for Mom and Dad. I treated myself to a flowing sapphire blouse and skirt combo, professional yet authorial, and lined up a blowout for the morning. Alex rolled his eyes when I modeled it, but Mia clapped, saying I looked like the lady on book covers. For a fleeting moment, the future felt bright, my ambition about to pay off. But whispers of trouble emerged 2 weeks out. Tom called casually, updating on his life before mentioning his epic rooftop party on launch day, with catering and a DJ for 60 guests, including key clients. "Tom, that's my book event," I protested, heart-sinking. "Can you shift it?" He brushed it off. "It's set." "Sarah, people are flying in. Come after your thing. The kids would dig the vibe." Anger flared as he noted parents were attending with relatives from out west. The call ended in frustration, me dialing Mom, who suggested splitting time impossibly. That evening, pouring it out to Michael, he held me saying, "We would be your biggest fans." But doubt lingered, the seeds of ambition now sprouting thorns I could not ignore. As the hospital came into view, parking in a frenzy, I shoved the memories aside, focusing on the present crisis, stealing for what awaited inside. Rushing through the automatic doors of Mercy Hospital, the sterile scent of antiseptic hitting me like a wave. I followed the signs to the emergency wing, my heels clicking. Echoes down the linoleum halls as fragments of my fractured family history surged unbidden, fueling the storm inside me. This was not just about today's abandonment. It ran deeper, rooted in the shadows cast by my brother Tom, the perpetual golden boy who had always eclipsed me in our parents' eyes. At 39, Tom commanded a booming digital marketing firm from his sleek loft in downtown Manhattan, single and unencumbered, jetting off for weekend ski trips to Aspen or yacht outings in the Hamptons whenever the whim struck. His life was a highlight reel of freedom and success, while mine felt like a footnote's endless revisions and compromises. Our parents, now in their late 60s and splitting time between a cozy condo in Boca Raton and family visits up north, had nurtured encountered that divide since we were kids, showing up for Tom's every football game with banners and cheers, but conveniently forgetting my debate tournaments or art shows, claiming scheduling conflicts that never seemed to apply to him. They had poured resources into him without hesitation, flying in to help renovate his kitchen with granite counters and custom cabinets when he bought the loft. But when I asked for occasional babysitting to carve out writing time, they pleaded exhaustion or prior plans. Mom had even said it outright once during a tense phone call after I confronted the imbalance. Tom is just more lively Sarah, always up for adventure. You are so intense with your goals and duties. It was as if my drive was a defect, my reliability a boring trait they could overlook. Those words had lingered like a bad review during the rejections I faced from literary agents, each no thanks letter feeling like another dismissal from the people who should have championed me most. Yet I persisted, emailing queries during my subway commutes, heart pounding as I hit send, only to refresh my inbox obsessively for responses that rarely came positive. The parallels were uncanny, the world's indifference mirroring my family's, but I refused to let it break me, channeling the hurt into sharper prose, more authentic chapters. 6 months before the launch, with a contract finally in hand from a small Brooklyn press, optimism had flickered back to life. I dove into planning the event at a charming indie bookstore in Greenwich Village, its shelves lined with local authors' works and cozy reading nooks that felt like the perfect backdrop for my debut. I requested a modest setup, enough chairs for a crowd of 50, and immediately sent out digital invites to Michael, the kids, my parents, and my sister Lisa from Boston. Lisa responded right away, her enthusiasm bubbling through the screen. "I am so proud of you, sis, working full-time, raising kids, and publishing a book. You are a powerhouse. I will book my train tomorrow." Parents were less committal, Dad muttering something about checking flights from Florida. Mom saying they would do their best, but you know how travel tires us these days. Still, I held on to hope this was my book launch, after all, a tangible proof of my perseverance. Surely they would prioritize it over their usual routines. Next, I scouted restaurants nearby, landing on a highly rated farm-to-table spot called Harvest Table that could seat our group of 8, the menu promising hearty salads and grilled steaks that would make for a memorable celebration. It was pricier than I liked, nearly $300 for the reservation deposit, but this was a once-in-a-lifetime occasion. My words bound and shared with the world, I swiped my card without second thoughts. Since parents would be coming from down south, I used accumulated points from work trips to book them a room at the nearby Hilton, imagining them fresh and rested for the event. Everything aligned, and for the first time in ages, I allowed myself to bask in the anticipation, picturing the kids beaming as I signed their copies, Michael holding my hand with renewed pride. 2 months out, I indulged in a new outfit, a sophisticated charcoal gray pantsuit with subtle shimmer that would look sharp under the bookstore's lights, but elegant for dinner after. I scheduled a full glam session for the morning, hair styled in loose waves makeup to hide the fatigue lines from late-night edits. These were rare treats, always sidelined for family needs, like Alex's new sneakers or Mia's dance classes. But I wanted to shine, to embody the confident author my book portrayed. Alex smirked when I tried on the suit at home, saying I looked like a boss lady from those finance shows, while Mia hugged my legs, whispering I was pretty like a princess writer. Their reactions warmed me, a brief salve against the growing undercurrent of doubt. Tension simmered to a boil 3 weeks before the big day. Tom called out of the blue, his voice booming through the phone as he caught up superficially on my writing progress before dropping the bombshell. "Hey, by the way, I am hosting this killer rooftop bash on May 18th. Just installed that infinity hot tub, going to break it in with about 50 people. Clients flying in special. You guys should come. The kids would flip over the games and fireworks." My stomach plummeted. "Tom, that's my launch date. I told everyone months ago." A beat of silence, then his casual, "Oh, right, forgot about that. Can you move your party?" I pressed, keeping my tone even, despite the rising panic. "Nah, invites are out, and these clients are only in town then," he replied, unfazed. "But come on, your thing wraps early, right? Swing by after." I felt heat flush my face, the dismissal landing like a slap. The launch starts at 2 and could run till 5, then dinner. But that's not the point. My family is supposed to support me. Sarah, it's just a reading, he said with that patronizing edge, honed from years of getting his way. You've had little stories before. This is basically an extended blog post. I was stunned. 5 years of vulnerability and grit reduced to a blog post. Before I could unleash the torrent building inside, he plowed on. Anyway, Mom and Dad are locked in for mine. They confirmed bringing Aunt Rita and Uncle Paul from Texas. You know how rare family reunions are. Now, fury ignited, you scheduled this. Knowing my date, even invited my family without checking. He got defensive. Did not realize it was such a big deal. You are 35, not some kid graduating high school. The call devolved into bickering, him refusing to budge me, ending it with a shaky goodbye. Tears pricked my eyes as I immediately rang Mom, hoping for reason. Mom, Tom's party is on my launch. You can't go instead. Her sigh was audible. Oh, honey, what awful timing. Can't you both adjust? No, the bookstore does not reschedule for one author. This has been locked for a year. Well, it is tricky. Your aunt and uncle are visiting, and Dad loves Tom's gatherings. The conversation spiraled, her labeling me inflexible, me fighting back tears at the familiar favoritism. That night, recounting it to Michael over lukewarm takeout, I expected outrage on my behalf. He listened, nodding, but his response was measured. Your family pulls this stuff all the time, but you have got us, me and the kids, as your cheer squad. That is what counts. His assurance calmed the immediate storm, but I sensed the undercurrent. His eyes distant, the weight of my writing pulling him away too. The book had created rifts here. At home, my late nights, leaving him to manage everything. And though he never said it, outright resentment simmered in those quiet moments. Still, I clung to his promise, whispering thank you as he kissed my forehead, praying it would hold. But as I lay awake later, the promise felt fragile, like a first draft full of holes. Pushing through the hospital doors now, the beeps and murmurs pulling me present, I braced for the scene ahead, the weight of those empty chairs still pressing on my heart. Stepping into the brightly lit emergency room, nurses bustling past with clipboards and worried families huddled in corners. I scanned for the bay number Michael had texted my pulse, thundering as memories of the escalating family fractures flooded back, each one, a crack in the foundation I had thought was solid. The first real fissures had appeared weeks before the launch, when Tom's casual announcement shattered my carefully laid plans, turning what should have been unity into division. I confronted him that same evening after his call, my voice steady at first as I paced our living room, the kids' laughter filtering from upstairs where Michael was overseeing homework. Tom, you can't seriously host your party on the 18th. That is my launch day, everyone knows. There was a pause on the line. Then his chuckle, light and infuriating, like I was overreacting to a minor scheduling glitch. Come on, Sarah, it is just a book thing, like those journals you used to keep as a kid. Nothing earth-shattering. You can pop over after the hot tub will still be bubbling. His words landed like a dismissal from an uninterested editor, reducing my years of effort to childish scribbles, and I felt a flush of heat rise to my cheeks, my grip tightening on the phone. I pushed back, trying to keep calm, but anger seeped through. This is not just anything, Tom. It is 5 years of my life poured into something real, and my family is supposed to be there. He sighed. That exaggerated exhale he perfected for when I was being difficult. Look, invites are sent, clients are coming from Chicago and LA. I can't reshuffle for your reading session. But hey, Mom and Dad are locked in for mine. They are bringing Aunt Carla and Uncle Ed from Colorado. It will be a full family blowout. The revelation hit hard. They had confirmed for his event, without a word to me, prioritizing his flashy gathering over my milestone. Fine, I snapped. But you are stealing my day and it hurts. He laughed it off again, saying I was too sensitive at 35, and we should catch up soon, ending the call before I could respond, fully leaving me staring at the phone, tears blurring the screen. Furious, I immediately dialed Mom, hoping she would see the unfairness, her voice warm at first, but turning evasive as I laid it out. Mom, Tom's party is clashing with my launch. You can't go to that. Instead, I need you there. Oh dear, she said, her tone that mix of sympathy and reluctance. I knew too well such bad timing. Why not move your event to another weekend? The bookstore is booked, Mom. This has been set for months. I reminded her, my voice rising despite efforts to stay composed. Well, it is complicated. Your aunt and uncle are flying in special, and Dad is looking forward to Tom's new setup. Can we not try for both? The suggestion was impossible, the timings and distances making it a farce, but she pressed on, calling me inflexible for not understanding the family pull. You are always so wrapped up in your projects, Sarah. Sometimes you have to bend a little. Selfish. That is what you are implying. I shot back, hurt, twisting into defensiveness. The call ended on a sour note, her promising to think it over. But I knew where her loyalties lay, the golden sibling shadow looming larger than ever. Michael found me later, curled on the couch with a glass of wine, the kids finally asleep. I recounted the conversations, tears flowing freely now, expecting his outrage to match mine. He listened, rubbing circles on my back, his touch comforting, but his words measured. Your family has this pattern, always putting Tom first, but hey, you have got us, me, and the kids will be your biggest supporters. That is what counts. His assurance soothed a bit, but I sensed the undercurrent, his eyes distant, the weight of my writing pulling him away too. The book had created rifts here at home, my late nights leaving him to manage everything, and though he never said it outright, resentment simmered in those quiet moments. Still, I clung to his promise, whispering thank you as he kissed my forehead, praying it would hold. 3 weeks before the launch, I tried to reclaim some joy, heading to a boutique in Soho for a fitting emerging with an elegant midnight blue gown that draped perfectly lace accents, adding a touch of whimsy without overpowering. It felt like armor, something to make me stand tall under the spotlights. I booked a salon slot for the morning of envisioning soft curls and a natural glow to mask the exhaustion. For a moment, slipping into the dress at home, twirling for Mia, who clapped delightedly. Excitement sparked anew, a flicker of hope that this would be the day everything aligned. But whispers unsettled me later that evening, Mia chattering about the pool games at Uncle Tom's, her eyes lighting up at the thought of splashing with cousins. How do you know about that? I asked, lightly heart-sinking. Daddy mentioned it, she said innocently, and Alex wants to go too. The seed of doubt planted, I glanced at Michael, who busied himself with dishes, avoiding my gaze. At work, the cracks widened further, my colleague Greg cornering me in the break room with a smug grin, casually mentioning he had shared some innovative ideas with the boss. Ideas that sounded eerily like chapters from my manuscript, which I had foolishly left open on my shared drive during a team collab. Panic surged as I rushed to a meeting later that day, the conference room tense with executives gathered, Greg presenting slides that lifted directly from my draft, claiming them as his breakthrough concepts for client retention. My book, he said, waving a printed excerpt I recognized as mine, inspired this, but I fleshed it out. Fury boiled as I defended myself, standing to interrupt. That is my work, Greg. From my upcoming memoir, you had no right to access it. The room fell silent, boss frowning, asking for proof, while Greg feigned innocence, saying it was collaborative. The confrontation dragged emails exchanged in real time, proving my authorship, but the damage lingered. Professional trust, eroded isolation, deepening as whispers followed me back to my desk. How could this happen now on top of the family mess? It felt like the universe conspiring to undermine my voice, just as I was ready to share it. As I navigated the hospital corridors, the beeps growing louder, those memories fueled my resolve, preparing me for the confrontation ahead, the weight of betrayal heavier with each step. The corridor opened into the chaotic emergency bay monitors, beeping in discordant rhythm as I spotted the curtained area labeled 7, drawing a deep breath to steady the turmoil within before parting the fabric. Inside the scene unfolded like a twisted family portrait, Alex propped on the bed with his arm in a temporary sling, face a mix of pain and embarrassment, surrounded by Michael, Mia, my parents Tom, and a doctor flipping through charts. Their heads turned as one expression's a mix of relief and unease, but before words could form, the raw isolation of the launch event replayed in my mind, pulling me back to those agonizing hours at the bookstore, where the absence of their support had carved a void I could not ignore. The venue had been alive with the hum of anticipation shelves, towering with stories from other authors, the air thick with the scent of coffee from the attached cafe, and fresh pages waiting to be turned. I took the stage at 2 sharp, the small crowd of about 30 scattered in folding chairs, a mix of local book club members, a few colleagues from Hudson Wealth Advisors, and curious walk-ins drawn by the flyers. My hands trembled slightly as I opened to the first excerpt, a chapter on the invisible labor of working moms, my voice steady at first, painting vivid pictures of juggling client calls with diaper changes, the exhaustion that seeped into every bone. As I read, describing a particularly grueling week where a market crash coincided with Mia's first school play, I scanned the room, hopefully eyes darting to the front row where those reserved seats sat empty, their vacancy a glaring spotlight on my solitude. No Michael with his encouraging nod, no Alex fidgeting but proud, no Mia clapping her small hands. The words on perseverance from a guest speaker, a fellow indie author sharing her journey, rang hollow in my ears. Her tales of overcoming doubt, mocking my current reality where doubt was not abstract but embodied in those absent faces. I pushed through, modulating my tone to convey the humor in financial mishaps, the audience chuckling at the right moments. But inside, a knot tightened, making each sentence feel like wading through molasses. When the reading ended, applause rippled politely, and I stepped down to the signing table, pen in hand, greeting supporters with forced smiles. A woman in her 40s gripped my book, saying it spoke to her soul how she too felt unseen in her corporate grind. I signed with a flourish, thanking her warmly, but the interaction felt surreal, like I was an imposter, peddling someone else's story. The warmth from strangers, a poor substitute for family validation. As the crowd thinned, I lingered by the display, chatting with the bookstore owner, who praised the turnout for a debut, but my phone remained silent. No texts of encouragement, no last-minute arrivals. Finally, alone in a back corner, the weight crushed me. Tears streaming as I scrolled social media, landing on Tom's feed posts, time-stamped during my reading, showing Michael laughing with a beer in hand, Alex and Mia splashing in the pool with cousins, my parents beaming by the grill. The images seared their joy during my moment of vulnerability, a dagger twist reducing me to sobs in that dim alcove mascara, streaking as I canceled the restaurant reservation with a trembling voice over the phone. "No point now," I muttered to the host, the line going dead like my expectations. Wiping my face, I gathered my things, the signed copies heavy in my bag, stepping out into the cooling evening air, the city lights blurring through unshed tears. My phone buzzed then, not with apologies, but 12 missed calls from Michael, panic surging as I redialed. He answered immediately, voice strained. "Sarah, thank God Alex slipped off Tom's new water slide. We think his arm is broken. We are at Mercy Hospital." The words jolted me. Maternal instinct overriding everything I will be. Right there, is he okay? They gave him pain meds, but he is scared. Keeps asking for you. Conflicting emotions warred worry for Alex, clashing with fresh anger at the preventable accident. Had they been at my event, this would not have happened. I hailed a cab, directing the driver to the hospital, the ride a blur of streetlights and honks my mind, racing between visions of Alex's tear-streaked face and the barbecue laughter that had mocked my solitude. Anger simmered at Michael for enabling this, at Tom for his selfish timing, at my parents for their blind favoritism, but fear for my son tempered it, steeling me for whatever lay ahead as the hospital loomed. Drawing nearer to the bay, voices carried Michael's low murmur. Mia sniffle the doctor's clipped instructions, bracing myself for the reunion that would force everything into the open. The scene froze me in place for a split second. Alex lying pale against the white sheets with his right arm cradled in a foam splint, eyes wide and watery, while Michael hovered beside him, hand on his shoulder. Mia clutching her dad's leg with tear tracks on her cheeks. My parents perched on plastic chairs looking flustered. Tom leaning against the wall with crossed arms, and the doctor, a middle-aged man in scrubs, reviewing x-rays on a lighted panel. Everyone turned as one, the air thick with antiseptic and unspoken tension, relief flickering across Michael's face before guilt overshadowed it. Mom started to rise, murmuring, "Oh, Sarah, thank goodness," but I waved her off, moving straight to Alex's side, my hand gently smoothing his hair, the maternal pull overriding the fury bubbling beneath. "How are you feeling, buddy?" I whispered, his small nod breaking my heart as he winced. "It hurts, Mom, but the doctor says it is not too bad." The physician introduced himself as Dr. Ramirez, his voice calm and professional, explaining the x-rays showed a clean break in the ulna, painful but straightforward a cast, and 6 weeks should see full healing, no surgery needed. As he spoke, the family fussed around Alex Mia, offering her stuffed bear for comfort, Dad patting his leg awkwardly, Tom ruffling his hair with a forced grin, saying, "Tough break, kiddo, but you will have a cool story." Their attention on him felt like a shield delaying the inevitable, but the dam inside me cracked the solitude of the launch, crashing back those empty seats, burning in my memory. How could this happen? I said, my voice low at first, but gaining strength, looking around the circle. If you had all been at my launch, like you promised, Alex would not be here right now with a broken arm. The words hung heavy silence descending as eyes darted away. Michael stepped in, his tone pleading, "Sarah, please not now, Alex needs calm." But the fury unleashed pent up from months of dismissals, accusations spilling out. Calm after you prioritized a party over my milestone, 5 years of my life poured into that book, and none of you could spare an afternoon to show up. Tom deflected immediately, crossing his arms tighter. "Hey, I did not force anyone. It was just bad timing, and Alex was having fun until the slip." "Bad timing," I repeated, turning on him. "You scheduled it, knowing my date, invited my family behind my back, reduced my achievement to nothing special." Parents looked genuinely baffled, Mom wringing her hands. "Honey, we did not realize it meant so much. It is just a book event. We thought the family gathering was important too. Just a book event." The echo ignited more. My voice trembling with emotion. It is my voice, my story. The thing I built through sleepless nights and missed moments for all of us. And you chose a barbecue. The doctor cleared his throat, suggesting we keep it down for the patient, but I could not stop the hurt crystallizing into resolve. Dad tried placating. "This is not the place, Sarah, let's focus on Alex." When is the place then when I am invisible again, always the responsible one overshadowed by Tom's fun? Tom rolled his eyes. "Come on, you are making this about childhood stuff. What matters is Alex is okay. This was an accident. An accident that would not have happened if you had not poached my day," I shot back. But seeing Alex's anxious eyes watching the adults unravel guilt washed over me. He did not deserve this crossfire. His young face pale against the pillow, lip quivering. I took a breath, turning back to him, forcing softness. "I am sorry, sweetie, Mom's here now. Tell me what happened." He sniffled, saying he was climbing the slide to impress cousins, slipped on the wet edge, landed funny. Dr. Ramirez interjected, confirming the fracture details, again recommending rest and follow-up. As nurses arrived to prep for casting, wheeling in supplies with efficient clatter, I volunteered to stay with Alex, needing space from the suffocating group. We moved to a quieter alcove, the nurse chatting lightly to distract him as she wrapped the fiberglass Alex, gripping my hand tightly. In that moment, his vulnerability pierced my anger, reminding me why I wrote the book, to model strength for them. He looked up midway, voice small. "I am sorry I missed your book thing. Mom, I wanted the party. Dad said it was okay. It is not your fault, I said, swallowing hard. Adults made those choices. But you are sad, he observed, wiser than his years. Yes, but I am proud of what I did, and I hope you will understand someday. He nodded, then whispered, I snuck a peek at your book last week. It was cool, made me proud of you too. His words simple and sincere, the first real acknowledgement all day, meaning more than any stranger's praise. Stepping out while they finished the hallway, cooler and quieter. My phone vibrated. Rachel from my writer's circle, her voice warm and concerned. Sarah. Where did you disappear to? I looked for you after the launch. It was amazing. You were brilliant up there. I explained the accident briefly, her sympathy, immediate. Oh no, is he all right? Do you need anything? I can bring food or company later. Her offer, genuine and unprompted, contrasted the family's neglect, a lump forming in my throat. Actually, yes, come over tonight if you can. I could use a friend. Of course, I will grab takeout and that wine you like. Back in the bay, the cast set in bright blue, chosen by Alex. The family lingered with forced normalcy, but subplots of tension intersected Michael's glances, pleading for truce. Mia's awkward silences and guilty glances, parents exchanging confused looks. Tom checking his watch impatiently. Their guilty silences spoke volumes. No one mentioning the launch, the omission, a fresh wound, deepening my isolation as discharge papers were signed. We prepared to head home the drive ahead, heavy with unspoken words, the day's events, a tangle I yearned to unravel. The ride home stretched in tense silence, the city lights streaking past the windows like fleeting regrets, Michael gripping the wheel while I stared out at the passing buildings, Alex dozing in the back with his new cast, propped awkwardly, Mia fiddling with her seatbelt. We pulled into our driveway under the glow of street lamps, the familiar sight of our suburban home, doing little to ease the knots in my stomach, and as we filed inside, the air thick with exhaustion, I knew the unraveling could not wait. Michael helped Alex to the couch, fluffing pillows under his arm, while Mia scampered upstairs to change her small footsteps, a brief distraction before the weight settled back. Once the kids were out of earshot, I turned to him in the kitchen, the fluorescent light casting harsh shadows on his face. Michael, we need to talk now. He nodded wearily, sinking into a chair, running a hand through his hair. I know Sarah today was a mess. I am sorry. Sorry does not begin to cover it, I said, my voice cracking with the pent-up storm, leaning against the counter for support. I feel utterly betrayed by you most of all after everything. His eyes met mine, guilt evident, but he held back, waiting. For 5 years, I poured myself into that book, missing bedtimes, skipping outings, carrying the mental guilt of not being there enough, all to build something better for us. And on the one day I needed you to show up, you chose Tom's party. He shifted, admitting softly. I screwed up. I thought the kids would hate sitting through it, and when they begged, it seemed like a harmless split. Harmless, I repeated, incredulity rising. You discussed it behind my back, made decisions without me, like my achievement was optional. He looked down, voice low. You are right, but I have been holding things together here, work and kids and house, while you chase this dream. And yeah, maybe I am insecure. Your book taking off while my projects stall at the office. No promotions, just the same grind. His admission hung there, a vulnerability I had not expected, revealing the cracks in his own confidence, his stalled career at the startup weighing on him more than I realized. It softened the edges of my anger slightly, but the hurt ran too deep. I need space. Michael, time to process this. I am checking into the Westin for a week. His eyes widened, alarm flashing. Sarah with Alex hurt. We need you here. Alex has a father who can handle it just like you handled everything while I wrote. I countered sharply and honestly, I can't trust being around you right now without exploding. He nodded, slowly defeated. Okay, if that is what you need, but please check in. We love you. The kids emerged. Then Alex yawning. Mia trailing behind, and I sat them down, explaining gently that Mom needed some quiet time to think, like when they retreated to their rooms after a tough day. Alex hugged me tight, his cast awkward but warm, whispering, "Sorry again," while Mia clung longer, her small arms fierce. "It is not because of you," I assured them, kissing their foreheads. "I will visit every day." Rachel arrived soon after, arms laden with takeout bags from our favorite Thai spot, the spicy aromas of pad see ew and spring rolls cutting through the heaviness. She had swung by the bookstore post-launch, picking up extra signed copies from fans who raved about my reading their notes tucked inside, praising my honesty. We ate in the living room, her presence a balm contrasting the family's earlier neglect with genuine support, laughing lightly over launch anecdotes while the kids perked up at the food. As she left, hugging me goodbye, her whisper of "you deserve better" lingered, fueling my resolve for the hotel's solitude ahead. Checking into the Westin that night, the lobby hushed with soft lighting and the distant hum of elevators, I collapsed onto the crisp bed, the room a neutral haven from the chaos. Sleep came fitfully, but morning brought clarity. I booted up my laptop, researching small claims options for event interference, Tom's deliberate scheduling feeling like sabotage worth pursuing. Articles on emotional distress and family disputes filled my screen, contemplating if legal steps could force accountability, perhaps a suit for the reservation costs and lost opportunities. Amid this, apologies trickled in, a voicemail from my parents, Mom's voice tearful admitting they had been thoughtless, Dad's gruff addition promising to make it right. Tom sent an elaborate bouquet to the hotel, the card reading, "Sorry for the mix-up, let's talk soon," but it felt superficial, like a client schmooze, rather than genuine remorse. At work the next day, the office buzzed with usual chatter, but I headed straight to HR, exposing Greg's theft of my manuscript ideas, presenting emails and timestamps proving the draft was mine before his presentation. The meeting dragged tense, Greg denying vehemently in the adjacent room, but evidence won out, earning me a formal apology, and his reassignment off my projects, a small victory that boosted my battered confidence. Backlash followed swiftly, though whispers in the halls about me being dramatic. Greg's allies shooting sidelong glares, amplifying the isolation, but also my determination to stand firm. Days blurred at the hotel, visiting the kids for homework help and bedtime stories, Alex adapting to his cast with doodles from friends, Mia sharing school dramas, their affection a lifeline amid the solitude. Midweek, a mini-twist landed in my inbox, an email from a major publisher intrigued by the launch buzz and online chatter about my story, offering a potential deal for expanded rights. But with strings, they wanted to lean into the family drama, publicity, perhaps a follow-up chapter on the betrayal for marketing hype. The proposal thrilled and unsettled me, opportunity tangled with exploitation, forcing me to weigh if airing more laundry was worth the gain. As the week wound down, these threads wove a complex tapestry, apologies and victories mingling with new dilemmas, preparing me for the difficult conversations ahead. The solitude of the hotel room became my sanctuary. That final day, the soft hum of the air conditioner, a backdrop to my swirling thoughts as I packed my bag, reflecting on the tangled web of relationships that had brought me here, each thread pulling at old wounds and new realizations. Mornings had been for quiet journaling, evenings for long walks along the nearby riverfront, but afternoons belonged to the kids, slipping home to check on Alex, his cast now a canvas of colorful signatures from classmates adapting with that resilient spirit of youth as he learned to eat left-handed or game one-armed. Mia would curl beside me on the couch, sharing her school worries like the mean girl in class who teased her braids, or the math test she feared failing her small confessions a bridge, rebuilding our bond, reminding me why I fought so hard. These visits grounded me, their hugs fierce and unreserved, but they also highlighted the voids, Michael's tentative updates on household routines, underscoring how easily life had adjusted without me. Confronting my parents came midweek, inviting them to the hotel lounge for coffee, the neutral ground feeling safer than home turf. They arrived bearing a card and what looked like a check, Mom's eyes red-rimmed, Dad's posture stiff with discomfort. "We are so sorry," Honey Mom started sliding the envelope across the table. We did not mean to hurt you like this. I opened it, seeing the generous amount, but pushed it back firmly. This is not about money. It is about the pattern. The one where Tom always comes first, his events celebrated while mine are afterthoughts. Dad frowned. We had no idea you felt this way, Sarah. That is the problem. You never asked, never noticed attending his games, but missing my milestones, funding his ventures, but bailing on mine. Mom teared up, saying we thought you were strong, independent, did not need the fuss like Tom does. But I do need it, I said, voice steady despite the ache and going forward. No more favoritism, equal effort, or I set boundaries, less contact if needed. They nodded, subdued, promising to try the conversation, uncomfortable, but cathartic, planting seeds of change. Tom was next to tense coffee meet at a quiet cafe near his office, the aroma of fresh brews clashing with the bitter undercurrent between us. He arrived late, suit sharp as always, sliding into the booth with a forced smile. Thanks for meeting Sarah about the other day. I cut in no small talk, Tom. You scheduled your party, knowing my launch date, dismissed it as nothing, and poached my family. He shifted, admitting with a sigh. Yeah, I have been selfish, always the center, but honestly, I envied your creativity, that book thing, pouring heart into something meaningful while I chase deals. The revelation surprised me, his vulnerability cracking the facade, revealing the sibling rivalry ran both ways. We talked longer, not fully mending, but opening dialogue, him offering to promote my book on his networks as amends. The subplot with Tom escalated from there, my research leading to filing a small claims suit at the local courthouse, claiming event interference costs like the wasted reservation and emotional distress from his deliberate overlap. The clerk processed it efficiently, the claim modest, but pointed, seeking reimbursement and a court-mandated family therapy session to address the patterns. News rippled through the family grapevine. Tom calling, frustrated, saying it was overkill. But I stood firm. This force's accountability therapy could help us all. Parents reacted with shock but agreed to attend if ordered the legal step, a bold move empowering me amid the chaos. Meanwhile, the societal subplot peaked unexpectedly, a late-night post I dashed off on social media, defending working moms against the trolls who had piled on after my launch selfie went semi-viral. Pouring out the juggle of career book and family, the post struck a chord, shares climbing into thousands allies, flooding comments with stories of their own undervalued efforts, from single moms grinding multiple jobs to executives hiding pregnancies. But trolls swarmed too, accusing me of neglecting my kids for fame, mom-shaming and vicious threads that stung like fresh wounds, questioning my priorities and even digging up old family photos to mock. The duality exhausted me, the support, uplifting, but the hate draining, amplifying my isolation, yet fueling a fire to speak louder. These reflections and revelations wove through my days, building toward resolution. As the week closed, the hotel checkout looming like a return to reality. Driving back from the hotel that final morning, the familiar suburbs unfolding like a well-worn page, I felt a mix of trepidation and clarity, ready to rebuild the bridges that had nearly collapsed under the weight of neglect and resentment. Michael waited on the porch as I pulled up, his tentative smile, a fragile olive branch helping with my bag as we stepped inside the house, unusually tidy, a subtle gesture of effort. We settled at the kitchen table, sunlight streaming through the window onto the scarred wood surface where countless family moments had unfolded. "I have missed you," he said softly, reaching for my hand. "And I you, but we need to talk honestly. No holding back." He nodded, exhaling deeply. "I have been thinking too about how I let you down, but also about us." "Go on," I encouraged, my heart pounding with anticipation. He revealed it then, his voice cracking slightly, admitting his own stalled dreams, that failed AP idea he had poured weekends into years ago, a tool for family budgeting that never gained traction, leaving him feeling stuck at the startup while my book soared. "I envied that, Sarah, your drive, turning into something real while mine fizzled. It made me pull away, resent the time you took, but that was unfair." His vulnerability surprised me, peeling back layers I had not seen, the insecurity mirroring my own doubts. I shared my side, the resentment over uneven loads, how I carried the mental weight of schedules and meals, alongside writing, feeling guilty for every missed moment while he complained without stepping up fully. We both sacrificed, I said, but I felt alone in mine, like my efforts were invisible. Tears welled as we talked, raw and unfiltered, his hand squeezing mine tighter. From there, agreements flowed, practical changes to ease the burden, hiring a weekly cleaner to handle the deep scrubs I dreaded, sharing duties more equitably, him taking full charge of school runs 3 days a week, me blocking off family evenings free of work or writing. It felt like rewriting a flawed chapter, turning conflict into collaboration, a tentative path forward built on mutual understanding. The kids burst in from school soon after, backpacks thudding to the floor, Alex waving his cast like a trophy, Mia chattering about her day. We called a family meeting right there in the living room, sinking into the worn couch, explaining we were working through grown-up stuff, but committed to being stronger together. I am starting a new chapter at work, soon more demands, but we all pitch in now. To my surprise, they stepped up, Alex offering to handle trash and recycling, once his arm healed, Mia volunteering to set the table nightly and sort laundry. And Mom Alex added shyly, "We read parts of your book while you were gone. It is awesome. We are proud." Their words warmed me, a balm on the launch wounds, Mia hugging me with fierce pride. Work shifted too, the promotion materializing through surging royalties, and exposure from the launch, my boss calling midweek to offer the senior consultant role, complete with a bump in pay, and flexible hours, crediting the buzz around my memoir for highlighting my expertise. It validated the years of grind, the extra income, promising relief, perhaps funding that cleaning service or family outings. But tension arose unexpectedly with Tom, his business hit by bad press, tied to my viral post, the online storm spilling over, when a key client, a major retailer, pulled out after reading threads about our family dispute, citing concerns over his reliability amid the publicized drama. Tom called furious at first, accusing me of sabotage, but as details emerged, the specific loss of that $1 million account, forcing humility. He shifted to apology, genuine this time, saying he saw now how his actions rippled, hurting more than intended. The conversation turned a corner, his voice softening over the line, promising to make amends, perhaps by hosting a makeup event for my book. It felt like a turning point, the bridges mending plank by plank as I hung up, gazing out at the yard, where leaves rustled in the breeze. The breeze carried the faint scent of blooming jasmine from the neighbor's garden, a momentary peace, before the next wave of changes crashed in subplots of my life, converging like plot twists in an unfinished draft. Weeks later, the small claims hearing arrived, a drab courtroom in Lower Manhattan, where fluorescent lights buzzed overhead and wooden benches creaked under fidgeting attendees. Tom sat across the aisle, suit impeccable, but expression strained, my parents beside him, looking smaller than usual, Michael by my side for support, his hand squeezing mine as the judge reviewed the filings. I had kept the claim modest, seeking reimbursement for the restaurant deposit and salon costs, plus nominal damages for the emotional toll of Tom's deliberate scheduling overlap, but the real ask was court-mandated family counseling to address the deeper rifts. The judge, a no-nonsense woman in her 50s, ruled in my favor after brief arguments, awarding a few $100s and ordering 6 sessions of therapy, citing the clear pattern of interference and the need for structured resolution. It was a quiet victory. No dramatic gavel slams, just a nod and paperwork, but as we filed out, the air shifted, buried resentments already bubbling to the surface. The first counseling session came quickly, a neutral office in Midtown with plush chairs arranged in a circle, the therapist, a calm mediator named Dr. Ellis, guiding us through introductions. Parents started defensive, mom twisting a tissue in her lap, saying, "We did not mean to favor Tom, it just happened that way." But as prompts dug deeper, admissions surfaced, Dad confessing the bias stemmed from his own regrets, pushing Tom toward the success he never achieved while assuming I was fine on my own. Mom teared up, admitting she envied my independence, projecting it as not needing them, but really fearing I outgrew her. Michael confronted his failures too, voice thick as he described the app flop that left him stagnant at work, how it fueled his pullback from my writing, resenting my momentum while burying his own frustrations. Tom listened mostly, but when pressed, acknowledged his role in perpetuating the dynamic, always the easy choice for them. The session ended raw hugs tentative, but a crack of light pierced the shadows' honesty, forging the first real connections in years. Karma circled back at work soon after Greg's theft, unraveling further when HR's investigation deepened, emails surfacing that showed he had not just borrowed ideas, but pitched them to external contacts as his own. The fallout was swift, a demotion, stripping his title and cutting his bonus whispers in the office, turning from doubt toward me to murmurs of justice served. My boss called me in, apologizing for the oversight and confirming the promotion was mine, the added exposure from my book, sealing it. It felt like vindication, the professional betrayal echoing the family one, but resolving cleaner, bolstering my confidence as I settled into the new role. Book sales climbed steadily from the online buzz, my viral post-drawing readers who connected with the working mom narrative reviews, pouring in, praising the authenticity. Royalties checks grew, easing financial strains, but a mini twist hit when a scathing review popped up on a major site accusing plagiarism, claiming sections mirrored a lesser-known finance blog, the allegations echoing Greg's theft and sending my stomach plummeting. Panic surged as I refreshed the page, comments piling on with doubt, threatening the momentum. I called my publisher, immediately, voice urgent, in the quiet of my home office, explaining the parallels to the work incident. They looped in HR from Hudson, a short investigative dialogue unfolding over conference call. Timestamps and drafts pulled up, proving originality, the blog post dated after my early manuscript shares. Evidence cleared me swiftly, the reviewer retracting amid backlash. The ordeal strengthening ties with my team. My publisher praising my quick response, and even bonding Michael and me closer as he helped gather files late into the night. The kids dove into my book during those weeks, Alex reading chapters aloud to Mia on the couch, their discussions fostering unexpected empathy. One evening, as golden hour light filtered through the windows, Alex approached with the book, dog-eared, saying, "The part about missing family time hit hard. I get why you were gone so much, Mom. It was for us." Mia nodded, adding she liked the stories about strong moms, making her want to write too. Their insights, innocent yet profound, warmed me. Turning pages of pain into lessons, shared the family fabric, weaving tighter. As autumn leaves began to fall, these turns settled into a new normal, paving the way for what came next. The crisp air carried hints of change as I stepped into our home office. The space, once a battleground of late-night writing, now a haven for quiet reflection. Watching Alex flex his newly freed arm after the cast came off his grin wide as he tested the motion, symbolizing the slow mending not just of bone, but of our fractured family ties. Weeks had passed since the hearing therapy sessions, weaving into our routine, like threads repairing a torn fabric, each one peeling back layers of old hurts while stitching new understanding. Dr. Ellis guided us gently, her office, a neutral ground where voices rose and fell, parents admitting in one raw session how their bias toward Tom stemmed from easier connections with his outgoing nature, apologizing for the invisible scars it left on me, their hugs afterward, tentative but sincere. Michael opened up about his app failure, the rejection letters he had hidden in his drawer, confronting how it fueled his withdrawal, and in turn, I shared the resentment of carrying unseen loads, our dialogues building bridges of empathy that felt sturdy for the first time. Tom surprised us all one Saturday, calling a family gathering at his loft under the guise of a casual brunch. But as we arrived, the space transformed with banners reading, "Congratulations, Sarah" tables, laden with my favorite foods, and stacks of my book displayed proudly. He had invited everyone, parents beaming from the couch, Lisa via video from Boston, chiming in with cheers, even a few neighbors and colleagues mingling. Tom pulled me aside early, his usual confidence softened, saying he had read the book cover to cover, seeing now the depth of my world, and as apology presented a beautifully framed cover art commissioned from a local artist, its colors vibrant against the matte black border. The gesture moved me, tears pricking as the room toasted my success, the surprise party, a genuine pivot turning betrayal into belated celebration, the laughter and stories flowing like wine-mending riffs in ways words alone could not. Parents followed suit. Days later, arriving unannounced with a wrapped package, unveiling professional author photos they had arranged through a studio in the city, images capturing me in thoughtful poses, with my book Their Pride evident in the careful selection. "We are learning," Mom said, hugging me tightly, "no more, taking you for granted." Therapy continued sessions delving into mutual respect exercises, assigning us to list each other's strengths. Dad's list praising my determination, Mom's noting my kindness, while I acknowledged their past support in subtler ways. Michael and I grew closer through it. Date nights reinstated sharing duties seamlessly now, with the cleaners help his encouragement for my writing renewed as he dusted off his own ideas. Work steadied too, the promotion materializing through surging royalties and exposure from the launch, my boss calling midweek to offer the senior consultant role, complete with a bump in pay and flexible hours, crediting the buzz around my memoir for highlighting my expertise. It validated the years of grind, the extra income, promising relief, perhaps funding that cleaning service or family outings. Greg's karma lingered in office gossip, his demotion, a quiet justice, but the family healing took precedence. Alex and Mia curling up with the book on rainy afternoons discussing chapters over hot cocoa. Alex saying the part about chasing dreams inspired him to try coding, like Dad. Mia adding she liked the stories about strong moms, making her want to write too. Their insights, innocent yet profound, warmed me, turning pages of pain into lessons shared, the family fabric weaving tighter. My worth, once tethered to their approval, now stood independent, a realization born from the pain, understanding that deepest wounds could fuel profound growth, transforming isolation into self-reliance. As therapy wrapped a session with shared goals, the family committed to equity. I felt the chapter closing on old grievances, opening to one of balanced harmony. Have you stood up to family undervaluation? Share below, like, and subscribe for more stories of turning betrayal into triumph.